Cheese sauce starts with a flour and butter roux, and I bring extra oomph by adding spices directly to the flour. First, a quarter teaspoon of ground mace, the same amount of sweet smoked paprika, and half that of Aleppo pepper. And I flavour the milk for the sauce too, by stirring in a tablespoon of rich tomato puree, which I just fork to mix. I'm ready to go on the cheese and crab sauce, and it's so fast. I'm going to put the pasta in now. I've got 200 grams of pasta shells, conchiglie. I mean, I know that that's hardly traditional pasta for mac and cheese, but this is a crab mac and cheese, so I'm sticking to a marine theme. Got a couple of tablespoons worth of butter here, melting gently. I'm going to grate in a fat clove of garlic. I'm going to stir that into the butter as it melts. This is a fabulous start to a sauce, but it's a fabulous start to anything. Butter and garlic. And now I've got a tablespoon and a half of flour, just plain flour here, tinted pink by the spices. Just want to cook it until it's a loose paste. I mean, right now it is looking wonderfully volcanic. Before I add the milk, I'm going to turn the heat off. And just as the flour was tinted pink with spice, my milk is tinted pink with tomato puree. Go gently now, adding it very gradually, don't want lumps. So all in, all smooth. So I can turn the heat back on, but I'm keeping it fairly low at first. I just need to cook this until it's thickened and any taste of flouriness is gone. And that won't take long. I mean, there's hardly any flour in it. I'm going to turn the heat off again because I think it's so much better to add the cheese without the flame under a pan. I've got 100 grams of grated Gruyere here, and I've chosen it for the crab mac and cheese because its rich, sweet nuttiness is absolutely perfect with the spices and the crab. So look at that, it starts having that smooth, elastic texture. But I want a bit of saltiness and sharpness too, which calls for Parmesan. Not so much, just about 2 tablespoonfuls. I mean, look at this texture. Isn't that heavenly? Could get lost in it. But it's crab mac and cheese. I need crab. And I use this, which is 50% white meat with its briny sweetness and tender flakes, and 50% brown meat, which is like the richest imaginable instant seafood pate. We just need to make sure the crab is hot all the way through. I know what that needs. Just a splosh or two of Worcester sauce. It tastes like the most fabulous dream of seafood fondue. It is a good idea. And actually, I think this would make a wonderful hot cheese dip, the sort they have in the American South. And it would be remiss of me anyway not to tell you that if you add more milk to it, it is a pretty divine sauce for nachos. Now, let's see how we're doing over this side. We're raring to go. Let's bring this over. Shall cast my net in for the shells, adding them directly to the sauce so the starchy water clinging to them helps the thick, rich, velvety smooth sauce glide over the pasta. My bowl is ready, and so am I. If I were making normal mac and cheese, I'd be putting this in a hot oven to blister it now. But this is too special and too delicate for such coarse treatment. So all I need to add is a freckling of Aleppo pepper. And I am ready to dive in. This is the most luscious of treats. Right now, I feel like something robust and hearty, which calls for fusiglione, which are comically large fusilli. And they're really good with this, which is Nduja, and I can best describe it, really, as a spicy salami paste. And it makes life so easy because it creates a near instant sauce. I'm going double carb. You know it makes sense. So in here, bubbling away, I've got a peeled and cubed potato, and these little cubes obviously provide ballast, but they also seem to melt fuzzily into the sauce. So in goes my fusiglione. A bit of a stir. And I have to say, that pasta pan is really working because I have another thing to add to it. As ever, I love cooking greens with pasta. I'm using Cavolo Nero here, which literally means black cabbage in Italian. I love its sturdiness and mineraliness. Right, in this goes. I'm going to try and do it a bit gently. And you know, when I said that this is a near instant sauce, I wasn't exaggerating in the slightest. So, melt a bit of butter. I use butter here rather than, say, oil, because its sweetness really seems to balance the fabulous fieriness of the Nduja. And more, it seems as well to help thicken the sauce. A couple of splodges of the soft, spicy, squidgy Nduja. The way that Nduja is spelt looks to us as if it should be pronounced Nduja, but You can remember its correct pronunciation if you think of saying, Nduja, want to eat now? Yes? And that's a sauce. Let's see how we're doing in the very, very full pasta pot. Right, the potatoes are soft. Those sturdy spirals are ready. But the tough Tuscan kale is now tender, but still with chew. Right, I'm gonna toss this patiently and hungrily. There may be a faster pasta sauce, but I haven't encountered it. Gorgeous. When the skies are dark and the air chill, this really bolsters and brightens. Look at that. Now, what I like is a green trickle of extra virgin olive oil. Gives me life. I'm sizzling so resoundingly for a reason. I want to get the chicken skin good and brown, and that doesn't happen by being timid. Let's give it a turn. Ah, golden joy. I'm going to take the pan off the heat while I add everything else. And starting with the lemon. I just love this sort of food. It's essence of home cooking. You know, simple, full of flavour, and just very easygoing. Everything in one pot. You can alter ingredients to suit your mood or what you've got in the kitchen. I mean, of course, it's a recipe, but it's really more of a framework. I like it really lemony, so I am going in strong on the citrus. 2 lemons. I also like a lot of garlic. A lot of garlic. I think it's a mistake to think of food that's comforting as food that's bland. I think flavour is essential. This is dried tarragon, which really was made for chicken, but I just as often use dried thyme and sometimes a pinch of dried mint as well. Add my leeks and carrots. Cut the leeks small because I eat it with a spoon and fork and really no knives. And so I want each leek to be able to nestle comfortably in the bowl of the spoon. And likewise, the carrots. I have been quite open about my prejudices over the years, but let me just say again that I find carrots cut into rounds infinitely depressing, so it's always battens for me. Now for some chilli, not a lot, just enough to create some warmth and spice. You need to have a generous hand with the salt. It's salt that allows the flavours of the chicken, the vegetables and the broth to come through so clearly. And besides, there's going to be a lot of water in here. But first, I need to juice my boiled lemons. Leeks and carrots are both very sweet vegetables, so the lemoniness offers sort of sprightly balance. Lemon juice over. And what makes the chicken so soft is that it's poached rather than roasted. And I really want the chicken covered all but the very top of the breast. Let's get the fire under. So all I have to do now is wait for the water to come to the boil, then I can clamp on the lid and take this to the oven, moderate oven, 180 Celsius or 160 if you're using the fan, and cook it for an hour and a quarter. And then I can add the orzo, which will absorb all the lemony, chickeny juices as it cooks. When the chicken is all but cooked through and the carrot's soft, it's time to add the orzo pasta. I tamp it down so that it's fully submerged, then put the dish back in the oven for another 15 minutes. Once out of the oven, I let the chicken stand while I chop a generous amount of parsley to sprinkle over and stir in before serving. I love to eat this just with a spoon once I've pulled the tender poached chicken into succulent pieces and stirred them into the broth-bolstered orzo in a bowl. Right, while the pasta bubbles merrily away, I'm gonna prepare my chard. Now, I use rainbow chard because, I mean, look at it, how beautiful it is. Those veins. It's hard to believe that this exists in real life and isn't just the figment of a nursery school child's imagination. I cook the stems or ribs of chard separately from the tender leaves. So I'm going to strip them. It is a pity to mar the beauty, but it's all in a good cause, my supper. And now I have a short but cheering bout of Technicolor chopping. If you haven't had chard before, I think it's best to describe it really as a cross between spinach and kale. But what both chard and pasta need is some oomph. Don't we all? Right, first stop, Umami Central. 8 anchovy fillets. And when you cook with anchovies, you don't need to chop them before you pop them in the oil. As it warms, you squish them into the pan and they will begin to melt into the oil. I wouldn't say that the anchovies have totally dissolved, but they've broken down a lot and now they're those soft, flavoursome shreds. And turn the heat off because next comes garlic, a lot of garlic, and I don't want it to burn. I know this looks like it's going to be overwhelming, but it really isn't. Once everything's mixed together, what it will give is just a lot of warm oomph. I want a bit of fire flickering its way through this as well, so some dried chilli flakes. I start so many recipes off like this, and I have to say olive oil, anchovies, garlic, chilli, any vegetable tossed in this would be wonderful. Now, my stems. Come here, my beauties. While the brightness of these stems will get a little murky in the pan with the anchovies, the flavour will be even more vibrant. Just mixing everything together briefly. And then, it's boiled fairly recently, some hot water. Let it bubble a bit. And then with the lid on, everything will cook to wonderful tenderness while I get on with the leaves. I always try and do something clever with these, like put them in a pile and roll them up, which I am going to try and do. And then cut them. These leaves won't need really to do more than wilt in the heat. In they go, reunited. I really just want to toss these together just so the leaves are coated in that flavoursome liquid. So let's see how the pasta is doing. Feels just right. You can see how the chard leaves have cooked down, like spinach. You don't need to drain the spaghetti. Just add the beautiful pale golden strands straight to the pan. It doesn't matter if there's still a bit of water dripping off the pasta, because it's the starchy liquid that will help emulsify the sauce, helping it cleave to each strand. I favour an implement in each hand for this. This is where I'm trying to make myself be patient, because right now I just want to eat without waiting to stir everything together. But I will. Now, I like to douse with a bit more extra virgin olive oil. Convey to my bowl. The Italians are not going to like this because they have a rule, generally speaking, that you don't add cheese to pasta if it's either very garlicky or has fish in the sauce. And this is divinely abundant in both garlic and, anchovies. But I love it with some grated pecorino romano or parmesan over the top. I'm going in.